Welcome to Royal Emperor, your trusted source for the latest royal news and inside updates. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss what's unfolding behind palace walls. There is a story quietly circulating in elite royal circles, a story that suggests Meghan Markle's entry into the royal world did not begin with a chance introduction or a simple romance. According to those who claim to have witnessed it, her journey began much earlier, inside private lounges, velvet-lined rooms, and discreet spaces within Soho House, the exclusive members club where influential figures connect far from public view. For years, this story remained unspoken. Few were willing to repeat it, and even fewer were prepared to challenge the polished public narrative. But now, voices from inside these circles suggest that Sarah Ferguson, the Duchess of York, once pushed to the edge of royal relevance, may be ready to speak openly. She is said to have observed Meghan during those Soho House years, to have known the people she moved among, and to have understood the carefully constructed path that led her closer to the palace. According to the whispers, Sarah didn't just see it happen, she may have been closer to it than anyone realized. And this is where concern begins for Meghan, because if Sarah Ferguson decides to talk, the fairy tale version may not survive scrutiny. Sarah Ferguson has carried many labels over the years: unpredictable, controversial, outspoken, but one fact often gets overlooked. She endures. Time and again, after setbacks and public embarrassment, she has managed to re-emerge. That resilience is exactly why royal watchers say Meghan underestimated her. The belief among insiders is that Meghan assumed she could move forward, leave certain relationships behind, and never look back. But Sarah Ferguson is not someone who forgets. She observes, she remembers, and she understands the long game. Those familiar with both women say they share striking similarities: ambition, determination, and a willingness to push forward regardless of obstacles. The difference is experience. Sarah Ferguson has spent decades navigating royal systems. Meghan has not. And now, Sarah is said to be watching from a distance, with the awareness of someone who recognizes patterns because she once lived them herself. According to publishing insiders and royal contacts, Sarah Ferguson has been quietly discussing a potential book, not a gentle reflection, but a revealing account that could unsettle long-standing narratives. What has reportedly caused unease within the palace is the suggestion that this book would not focus solely on royal life, but would also include details about Meghan, how she entered elite circles, who guided her, and which relationships played a role long before her public introduction to Prince Harry. Sources suggest King Charles is cautious, aware that revisiting the past could reopen uncomfortable chapters, and may be inclined toward compromise to avoid renewed scrutiny. Prince William, however, is said to be unmoved, confident that his own history offers little leverage. And in the middle of this tension stands Meghan, with far more at stake than anyone else. Many still accept the public version of events, that Meghan met Harry through a friendly introduction and that their connection unfolded naturally. But according to those who claim first-hand knowledge, Meghan was already moving through highly selective social environments well before Harry entered her life. These spaces were not accidental. They were structured, intentional, and curated. And Sarah Ferguson, familiar with this world, is said to have recognized the strategy. That is why her perspective is viewed as risky. She can trace the connections, explain how introductions happen, and describe how proximity to power is built over time. In this version of events, Meghan did not simply step into royal life. She was guided toward it. To understand how those doors opened, attention returns to Soho House. According to insiders, it was more than a social venue. It functioned as a gateway into circles otherwise difficult to access. At the center of this network was Marcus Anderson, often described as a key connector, someone who understood where influence lived and how to bring people together strategically. He is said to have introduced Meghan to individuals who could open further opportunities. Another name frequently mentioned is Ron Burkle, a wealthy figure with links to both business and royal-adjacent circles, associated with exclusive gatherings and private introductions. These details matter because Sarah Ferguson is said to know this environment well. She understands how relationships are built quietly and how paths are shaped behind the scenes. If she speaks, the narrative could shift from chance romance to deliberate progression. The situation reportedly became personal when Sarah Ferguson attempted to reach out to Meghan, expecting acknowledgement or goodwill based on shared history. According to sources, those attempts were ignored. Messages went unanswered. Communication stopped. The perception among insiders is that Meghan believed she had outgrown the relationship. But for someone like Sarah Ferguson, being dismissed is not easily forgotten. Those close to the situation say the tension was not rooted in rivalry, but recognition. Sarah saw familiar ambition and recognized the risks of believing oneself untouchable. As this unfolds, the royal household itself appears divided. On one side is caution and a desire to keep past matters from resurfacing. On the other is resistance to being pressured by implied revelations. And standing without institutional protection is Meghan, someone the palace may not feel compelled to defend. That imbalance is what fuels concern among observers. There are also long-circulating whispers that Meghan's social ambitions extended beyond Harry before their relationship began. Some suggest she aimed for connections higher within royal circles, while others claim that people within Harry's own circle had prior knowledge of her social history and raised concerns early on. Even the guest list at her wedding has been quietly questioned by those who noticed certain absences. These are not claims made publicly, but murmurs shared among individuals accustomed to discretion. And if Sarah Ferguson were to confirm even small portions of these accounts, the public image could shift dramatically.
When people talk about Meghan entering the royal family, they often describe it as a fairy tale coincidence. Two strangers meeting unexpectedly and falling in love. But those close to the story say the truth is far less magical and far more intentional because long before Harry even knew Meghan existed, Princess Eugenie did. Meghan herself has admitted this publicly, but the implications were never explored. Sources familiar with Eugenie's circle say Meghan wasn't just a passing acquaintance. She was someone who already had a foot inside the quieter, more private side of royal life. People who were there recall moments where Meghan and Eugenie were seen in the same social spaces, quietly blending into gatherings that outsiders never knew existed. Not public rooms, not charity galas, private environments, places where only those already trusted could move freely. And if Eugenie knew Meghan before Harry, then the setup of their introduction looks very different. Not fate, not luck, but access. According to insiders, Eugenie unintentionally became the bridge between Meghan and the royal world. A bridge that allowed Meghan to pass from Toronto's elite nightlife into the protected corridors of royal bloodlines. This wasn't a leap. It was a step, a continuation of a journey she had already begun. If Eugenie opened the door, Sarah Ferguson, Fergie, tried to close it. Sources close to Fergie say she recognized something the moment she crossed paths with Meghan. Not danger, not scandal, ambition. Fergie knew that kind of ambition well. She had lived inside the royal machine herself, and she understood what happens when someone who wants more walks into a structure built on hierarchy and control. Word from people familiar with her thinking claim Fergie quietly monitored Meghan early on. Not because of acting fame, not because of nationality, but because she suspected Meghan's presence around Andrew might not have been accidental. And here is where the story sharpens. Those same sources claimed that Meghan may have first directed her attention toward Andrew, not romantically, but strategically, someone older, deeply connected, and powerful in his own right before the scandal shattered his world. But Fergie was territorial. She knew titles. She knew risk. She knew exactly what another ambitious woman could mean for her position and for her family. According to insiders, Fergie positioned herself between Meghan and Andrew, limiting interactions, restricting proximity, and making it clear that Meghan would not be allowed to get too close to the Duke's inner circle. And that blockage, that quiet closing of one door, may have shifted Meghan's path. Because if Andrew was unreachable, there was someone else who wasn't. Someone younger, someone more vulnerable, someone hungry for a genuine connection. Harry. As the years unfolded, the public was fed a clean, polished version of events. A modern love story, a Hollywood star meeting a lonely prince, a whirlwind romance, a fairy tale wedding. But behind that carefully crafted picture stand three people who supposedly know the parts that were never included. 1. Prince Andrew, pushed out of public life, silenced by scandal, holding memories and interactions that contradict the official narrative. 2. Sarah Ferguson, someone who supposedly saw Meghan's ambition early and acted to keep her from getting too close. 3. Princess Eugenie, the friend.
That's all for today's Royal Emperor Report. If you haven't already, subscribe now for more exclusive royal insights, turn on notifications, and stay connected. The stories behind the headlines are always evolving, and we'll be here to follow them. Thanks for listening.